Good morning. Merry Christmas. This is a day in which we celebrate Christ's birth. It's a day of celebration, of joy. The anticipation has been fulfilled, and now we hear from the gospel writer John about this person who was born in a manger. So I'm going to read from John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood or of the will of the flesh or of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to him and cried out, "This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me ranks ahead of me, because he was before me." From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. The law indeed was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. We read this passage every Christmas day. Just like we've read the manger story in the Gospel of Luke every Christmas Eve, John's Gospel account is so familiar to all of us. And what a contrast between the two readings. In Luke, we hear of a child being laid in a manger. We hear angels telling the shepherds of the miraculous event that has occurred. We're with Joseph and Mary in that stable. A very humble beginning, a very particular beginning, a very human beginning. Well, John has more of a cosmic vision, doesn't he? He starts out, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So from Luke's particular event, we now have the universal. And what this means for us is that in our Christian faith, we affirm both Christ's humanity and his divinity. He was both man and God. He has the power and the authority of God because he is God and reveals God the Father. Before Christ, we can only imagine what and who God was and what God wanted for us. Yes, he spoke to Moses, he spoke to Abraham, but in Jesus, he comes to us and lives among us. And because God comes to live with us, as us, he understands us in a way that would not be possible otherwise. As a human being, Jesus grew up, suffered, and he died. Gods don't die in the ancient world. Gods are immortal. But this God dies on a cross. He suffers for our sake. His power, although it manifests itself at the very beginning of time itself, his power comes to us through his vulnerability. And what makes him vulnerable is love. He knows love. He is love. He has compassion. He has understanding. He knows what it's like to love and to suffer. But because he is God, death could not contain him. And we have a resurrection. And in his resurrection, God reveals God's intention for all of us. That death no longer needs to be feared, but we hold on to the promise of everlasting life. We know this because Christ rose again from the dead and promised us he would return. And so, we wait. But we wait knowing that God has fulfilled his promise in his Son, through his Son, who has come to us in a manger and who will grow up and do public ministry, do wonderful, miraculous things, and who is with us still in our hearts, in our minds, in our community of faith, so that we walk forward in faith, knowing that the Word was God. He is the beginning and he is the ending. It's a marvelous, marvelous story that we cherish. Not only today on Christmas Day, but a story that we carry in our hearts all of our lives. Thank you for being with me today as we ponder this miracle of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amid the roses Mary sits and rocks her Jesus child, while amid the trees